Meyer, founder and CEO of Amazon solutions provider Envision Horizon.
And I'm Todd Pachowski, Director of Performance Marketing at Envision Horizons. We've teamed up to make the Common Mistakes podcast.
Todd and I meet with business owners, leaders, and investors to discuss common mistakes and other business experiences they've learned from. Tune in every other Tuesday for your dose of business advice. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Common Mistakes, where we talk about mistakes that we've made and seen so you don't have to learn the hard way. I'm Laura Meyer.
And I'm Todd Pachowski. Today, we are absolutely delighted to have Dan Brownsher with us. He is a national thought leader in Amazon retail strategy and emerging e-commerce trends. He is a commentator on Amazon practices, policies, and tech, as well as a sought after opinion source for media, quoted by Bloomberg, Forbes, MSN.com, LA Times, and more. He is president, CEO, co-founder of Channel Key, advising everyone from multi-million-dollar corporations to fast-paced entrepreneurial startups on how to navigate Amazon retail and e-commerce in general. Brownsher, along with two partners, is also co-founder of Trend Nation LLC, a top 200 global Amazon seller, selling more than $750 million in product. Dan tells clients the secret to helping everyone succeed with Amazon is real-world experience, learned and perfected the hard way. Dan, it's wonderful to have you here today.
Thanks, Todd. It's great to be here. Good to see you as well, Laura.
Yes, great to see you. All right, well, I always like to open it up with what is a mistake that just really stands out in your mind that today you're so thankful that it happened. Maybe you weren't so thankful in the moment, that you were able to just learn so much from and have a great takeaway.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And for folks that are entrepreneurs that are running businesses, it's funny, I tell my kids this every day, is I make mistakes every single day, and it's okay, right? So it's a good lesson for my kids, and certainly for me to think about and talk about. I would have to say if I had to pinpoint one single mistake for me personally, and I guess as an operator of an agency and a business in this space, it would be around the idea of thinking that we created scale at our service agency when we really hadn't. Okay. So this was years ago, 2019. We felt we had created scale. We were signing up clients. We were adding people, and we found ourselves in a situation where we weren't producing the results and output that we needed to or wanted to for our clients and for our people. And so there was this false idea that we were ready or that we had created this platform to scale and grow, when in actuality we hadn't. And so I had to make a tough call to contract things and slow things down for a period of time to really dial in our processes, our people ops, our structure, our financial model, all of these things. And I am so thankful that we did that. We're a much better business for it. Our clients are better for it. Our people are better for it. But I would say that was a whopper of a mistake that affected a lot of people, and it was a tough one, but necessary, quite frankly, necessary, and a big learning for me and for my company.
Yeah, no, I can say from personal experience with Envision Horizons that the business started performing a lot better the more frequent I said no. No to business that wasn't a great fit. No to scope creeping that sometimes occurs. And just doing a better job at really focusing on the core and the right type of client, which that's actually a topic I would love to chat with you about today, is maybe some common mistakes or learnings that you've had either hiring third-party vendors for your business, or, on the flip side, finding mistakes you've learned along the way or experienced along the way when bringing on the right type of clients.
Yeah, no, that's a great topic. The service provider topic is an interesting one. We've got a very extensive kind of partnership network, but the folks that we use from a third party are generally good, and it's mostly software. Like all of the work that we do for our clients is by people that are employed by by the company. And so all the third-party items that we use is mostly a tech stack. And we haven't had any big issues with that. I don't know if I can add too much to that particular line of questioning, but certainly the client selection topic is a juicy one, and I can speak to that. So
Yeah, and so what advice would you give a brand that is looking to hire an agency, whether that be an Amazon agency, a social media agency? What would you tell them to make sure that they choose a partner where it's going to be mutually successful?
there's so many things off the top of my head. One of the things that's really important for us in how we manage our sales process and our due diligence for looking at prospects that may become clients is we do a lot of homework. Okay. And so we provide a lot of research and thought and strategy development with our prospects before we sign any sort of agreement with them, before they pay us $1. And the reason we do that is because we're selective in the folks that we want to work with, because we want to make sure we can create a good outcome. And so part of it is creating alignment and building trust with our clients. But the other part of it is we're telling them what to expect when they work with us as a service provider. And so a thoughtful sales process or due diligence process where you get to speak to multiple individuals inside that organization, in my opinion, is absolutely critical. And another component for us that's important, like in general for us as a business, our people and our culture are the heart of our business and the foundation of our business. And so looking for agencies that give you cues to where you feel you're culturally aligned with them, with their mindset, with their people, how they operate their business, I think is underrated and immensely important. Okay. So I would say thoughtfulness in the process of due diligence and researching each other's businesses, and then finding that cultural alignment is critical.
How do you approach it when you feel like there isn't a good match? Because sometimes I could say from personal experience, like it can be an awkward conversation, right? Where this brand's really excited, they want to work with you, and you don't want to work with them.
Yeah, it's you know what? Back to culture. We're transparent. We're very honest in how we communicate with our people as well as our clients. And so we're very upfront when we start the conversations in our initial discovery calls. We say, hey guys, listen, we're very selective in who we work with. It's not because we think we're the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's because we want to make sure we can create a good outcome. Okay. We're not in this for the short haul. We're not interested in a 30-day agreement or working with you guys for 90 days. We want to work with you for years. And so we want to make sure we can create a good outcome. And if we're not the right fit, we'll tell you. And so one of the things that we do that is, I think, immensely important, because we want to give to the community, is if we're not the right fit, we'll tell them, and we'll tell them why. But we will give them alternative sources that they can go seek out. Okay, we're not just we don't want to leave folks high and dry. Like, our objective and one of our key values is to always delight everybody that we touch. And that could be a client, that could be somebody on my team, it could be a vendor, it could be our collections group, like it could be anybody. And so it's the truth for our prospects, right? Is we want to delight them and give them something that they can take, whether it's our research or another vendor or another service provider or something that is of value. And so that's how we approach it.
Yeah, I imagine that pays dividends down the road too. If they do come back and it turns out to be the right time later, you've set that tone. I have a question, just going back to what you were saying earlier, where you weren't quite ready to take on some of these clients. How did you like get to that point where you knew you weren't ready, and then how did you then go back, fix that, and come forward to knowing that you could take on more clients and grow the agency?
Yeah. So we knew it. How we figured it out was we were having issues in providing a consistent level of service amongst all of our clients and from all of our people. Okay, so the feedback from our clients we were getting, not in all cases, but in certain cases, it frankly wasn't great, and it wasn't up to the standard that I wanted and we expected. And so those were the cues that we kept getting, and we realized that we were not currently at that moment in time running a sustainable model. It just wasn't working, and we knew it wasn't right, and our people weren't happy. It wasn't a good environment it wasn't the right environment or the environment that we wanted. And so what we did was we restructured our teams. Okay, so this was a case study for me, like a business school case study that I realized at the time was that the organizational structure and how you present your teams and how you create the accountability and processes within these teams is absolutely critical. And so the thing we did is we stopped looking for new clients and aggressively seeking out new clients, became even more selective. We restructured our team. Whereas, and I'll get more specific with you, everybody was in silos. Our service team was in silos. Okay. And so what was happening is our account managers were working with a marketer and a graphics person and a copywriting person. And meanwhile, that marketer was working with 4 other account managers. And so what we figured out the issue is that there was, in that particular structure, there was no accountability and there was no way to prioritize. Okay. There was no way to prioritize the work because nobody had a boss, right? It wasn't structured the right way. So we streamlined, we put everything into pods and we created these teams, and there was an ultimate person and that was accountable to that pod that delegated the work, that prioritized the work. So that structure was really the first thing that we did. That was the first thing that we did. And then there were so many dominoes that fell after that. We created department heads. We restructured the teams. We got even more selective with our clients. And we created a financial model that supported the business within that team structure. And we got really clear on that. And this is one other major learning that I left out. And Laura, you brought this up earlier. You didn't directly bring it up, but it made me think of this is one of the ways that helped us grow was by selecting better clients, but also by me getting out of the way. Like I became a bottleneck in a lot of cases as a founder and an owner, and I needed to get on the right seat on the bus. And I wasn't on the right seat, and I created some problems at certain times. And so that was a big learning for me as well.
Dan, your story sounds eerily familiar to mine,
Yeah.
and a transformation that we made more so basically a year later, like 2020, early 21. Of restructuring it. And I have a feeling that you read the book Traction or some other type of EOS book, which for listeners, if you've never heard of it or you've never taken the time to read Traction or research the EOS system, it's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, we are big Traction fans, Laura. I'm glad you caught that. For me, it's changed our business. It created clarity, and it creates clarity the absolute moment in time when you need it, when things aren't going the way you want them to go or the way you thought they would go. You can always go back to the foundation that you've created within Traction, and it immediately, for me at least, adds clarity. It's like, okay, are we on the right track or are we not on the right track? And having that foundation built via Traction is, for us, critical. I would always recommend it to anybody.
Now I'm curious, did you work with a consultant to implement the EOS system, or did you read the book and do it yourself?
It's been a combination. We mostly self-implemented, and as Todd mentioned, I am a co-founder of a product business. We use Traction at that business, so we were, I don't want to say Traction veterans, but we knew it, like we knew the fundamentals of it, and so we've primarily been self-implementing over the years. But we have used a facilitator one or two meetings we've used a facilitator.
And I'd like to shift gears just if we could a little bit and get more specific to Amazon. So love to get into is, knowing that you're co-founder of Trend Nation, which does 750 million or did that much in volume, and you have the client agency side. What do you think is most important today, given like all these changes we've seen, 10 years plus that you've been in the Amazon ecosystem? What do you think is most important brands focus on today? Is the key thing brands? Is that really, we shifted from this private label scene over the last couple of years to really getting Amazon focused on brands. Is that where you think things are continuing to go over the next few years?
Man, that's a juicy question, Todd. And there's a lot of ways I could run with this thing. So the biggest thing, I can't say, hey, there's one single biggest thing. Okay. My answer to you, I'll give you an answer, but I want to preface it that it depends on who the brand is and where they're at in their life cycle. Okay. So like, I don't know, we're super big on DSP right now, retail media, and being more advanced in the way we're finding new customers, okay, for our clients. But that's not always the right thing for an earlier stage brand that is doing smaller volume, that has a lower budget, right? So if I took it a level up, Todd, and just kind of, spoke at it at a more macro level, I think ultimately brands need to create value. They need to create value, okay? And they need to align with their customers. And the way you're gonna do that is by creating a brand, telling a story with that brand, and the product is king. The product at the end of the day is king. If you can develop a product that is unique, that has some custom attribute, that is protected via IP, or a brand that tells a unique story that is connected to a community, that's how you win. You know, I like my Trend Nation experience was pretty wide in that we pretty much did every single Amazon business model there is. We did private label. We were a reseller doing retail arbitrage. We became an exclusive reseller, and we went back to private label. Right. So I've seen all of these different models, and, you know, I'm certainly biased on what I think is the best approach, but they're all viable in their certain way. But at the end of the day, for me, the way you win is it's the same old story is you got to create value. You've got to own the experience for the customer. And the way you're going to do that is by creating a fantastic product or creating a brand that can stand the test of time. If you're sourcing up from Alibaba and doing, you know, like you said, Todd, kind of slapping a logo on some very Me Too item, you might have some early success, but it's harder and harder and harder to compete in this place and this ecosystem because more people are doing it. The barriers to entry are still super low and the costs are going up. It's hard to compete, you know, it's hard to be advanced, and it's hard to make money right now with the way the market is heading. It's more concentrated, and it will continue to get more concentrated and more complex.
Do you think that patents and other IP is really the future as a way to be able to hedge yourself against all of the competition? Or like, what are some competitive advantages you're seeing brands do to stay relevant on Amazon?
That's a good question. I think it's actually a better framing, Laura, is figuring out for brands what their competitive advantage may be. I have a good use case around this particular topic, and it's not related to IP, right? So I want to kind of flip this and go to this competitive advantage route. So IP is important. That could be the competitive advantage. You've created something, you've got a patent on something, and it's defensible. Like, that's very interesting, and it's not a new concept, right? Like, it's been around for a long time, and certainly if you can develop that and figure that out and implement it and it be useful, that's a big win. We've got some obscure clients that you've never heard of before and you never will hear of, okay? But they do major volume on the platform because their competitive advantage is they know how to source product. They have the direct relationship with the exact factory in Asia. They've been doing it for the longest time, and it's extremely hard for other companies to replicate it. Okay, so that's a strategic advantage. That's a competitive advantage. So it could be your supply chain. That's your advantage. It could be your operational cost structure is so clean and tight that you have the opportunity to make more money, more margin, and allocate dollars elsewhere. There could be multiple components to operating a business that could create a competitive advantage. And it may not be related to the product. Product's important, as I said earlier, but there's other elements to running a business that could create that space and that advantage. So for me, the biggest example that I can think of off the top of my head is this one client who's doing 8 figures on the platform you've never heard of before, that wins over and over and over again and has for years because of their supply chain and their ability to source products a certain way that translates to Amazon.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love working with what I would call sometimes more like old school businesses, or maybe a little more antiquated, but like they're on it enough to know that maybe they need to move from just being an importer or a B2B business, and now they need to have this consumer business, and they have all the infrastructure. They just need the support and marketing to consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. We see that quite a bit. We still encounter a lot of traditionally wholesale businesses that want to react and want to go D2C or find that customer themselves. And that's the beautiful thing about Amazon is you can do it. It's built in, the traffic is there, the audience is there, and you've got some critical skill set you've developed over the years. You can leverage it and leverage the platform, and it can be very powerful.
What do you think about businesses that basically say that their brand awareness, their product positioning is their competitive advantage? And so, like, for example, I just saw this post on LinkedIn about Liquid Death, which is
I saw that post,
which is the canned water company. They're now number one in mineral drinking water, or they at least have the bestseller badge in that category on Amazon. And ultimately, like, what's driving that success is their brand awareness. They had a Super Bowl ad. Does that scare you? Because personally, it kind of scares me, because usually what that means is that it's a cash cow, it's a trend. Like, a lot of brands hit a peak and then they start to become less relevant.
Yeah, it doesn't scare me per se. I think it's super important. Like, getting brand awareness is not cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of time in most cases, and it takes a lot of money. And quite frankly, it's revolves around this concept of rising tides lifts all boats. And if there is brand awareness, there's a brand awareness already in place. In my opinion, it opens up many other doors for our clients to find new customers. And so, there's brands legacy brands that have been around for years that, they might trend up, they might trend down, but if they create a good product, at the end of the day, they're going to be just fine. And I would trade that any day of the week compared to a brand that doesn't have it. Like some of these earlier stage Amazon brands where nobody's heard of you, you've got no reviews, you've not established any good real estate in the platform or inertia or traction. That's hard. Like, that's really hard. And we talk to these really cool companies all the time that are early stage brands that have a cool product and they've got great messaging and great founders and all of these things. And in a lot of cases, if they're net new to the platform, we say, listen, you guys are going to lose money for at least the first year. Like, if you really want to build this business, you're going to have to be okay losing money because we have to buy the business. Okay. Nobody's direct searching for your brand. And so we have to compete on non-branded terms. And we've got to get you guys to index for these relevant terms. And guess what? It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. And so I would trade brand awareness any day compared to that particular situation. Now, both can do great and both are fine, but brand awareness creates more opportunities and options, in my opinion.
It sounds exactly like the conversations we're having on the back end here about net new brands to Amazon. It's super, super difficult. And I guess one question on that is, are you seeing any success, I guess, on a high level when it comes to pushing those new brands on the platform, when it comes to perhaps external traffic, influencer marketing? Anything that you're using that stands out currently?
Yeah, short answer is it can't just be Amazon from our view of the world. Like, if you want to launch on Amazon and do only Amazon work and only participate in traffic driving within the Amazon ecosystem, it's really hard and even more expensive. And it's getting more expensive. And so yeah, we're very much as an agency leaning into external traffic driving opportunities, Google and with social, and we're looking at, TikTok and these sorts of things. So getting more creative with how we're driving traffic is really important right now. So yeah, external traffic driving in is an important factor to really anybody's business, in my opinion, but certainly net new brands to Amazon.
Yeah, unfortunately, gone are the days from long ago where you could just give away like 500 units and rank on the first page. So we have to resort to different ways. It used to be
so easy, man. It used to be so easy. There was a playbook for it, but the playbook has vastly changed. The rules have changed certainly a lot over the years. So but I think it's all the right moves. Yeah, I think mostly good, in my opinion. I mean, Amazon is built on customer trust. And, I think most of the moves they make, while a pain in the butt or a surprise or not easy to handle or deal with, usually are for the right reasons and are geared around creating a trustworthy platform for their consumers. Again, not always easy. And we wish they would have given us more notice on a lot of the changes they make, but ultimately I think they're making the right moves.
For sure. Well, awesome. Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining Common Mistakes today. This was a very
Yeah.
insightful and awesome conversation. I want to give you the opportunity to share where listeners can find you and the best place to get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you both having me. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes painful to reflect on some of our past mistakes, but very cathartic and good to think about it. So for us, you can find us on our website, www.channelkey.com. And if you want to get in touch, you can do so on the site, but also connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow our Channel Key page on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. We put out a lot of content geared towards creating value and thought-provoking ideas. So I would suggest coming through those two ways.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Common Mistakes. If you're not yet subscribed, be sure to follow us and visit envisionhorizons.com to sign up for our weekly newsletter with all the latest Amazon news and expert advice. For Amazon sellers looking for more support, check out our Amazon brand management platform, My Horizons, and sign up for a free trial. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Common Mistakes.